They're coming from this like guru place of, I know the answer. And they're going, anytime I try to do like, here are the 5 steps. Here's the one way you're going to da, 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 da. Here's the best way. Here's the only way.
Yeah.
All of those messages, they're like, those always flop. But the minute I tell a like messy, vulnerable story, it goes viral. And I'm like, and I look at their chart, I'm like, well, yeah, your Mercury's in Cancer. You're quite literally meant to communicate that way. You are not meant to communicate through that, I don't want to say guru lens, because I think they're guru in their own right. It's just the expression and that flavor. So they're trying to be polished and perfected. And their brand and that Mercury is asking them to not be that. It's going, no, share the inner working, share the emotional vulnerability, share the struggle in it. You don't actually have to teach from the lessons learned. You can actually teach from being in the well of it.
Welcome to Hopeful and Wholesome, the show where ambitious women come home to their bodies. I'm your host, Hope Pedraza, and I'm a functional practitioner, human design guide, and expert on all things energy, and your partner in decoding the language of your body. This is your space to reconnect with your body's wisdom, reclaim your energy, and rise into alignment in your health, your business, and your life. Because thriving isn't about pushing harder, it's about learning to listen deeper. So let's dive in, because your next breakthrough starts right now. Hey friends, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today on the show, I have Kathryn Thompson, and she is a Canadian-based entrepreneur who inspires people to use their stories as a way to create change in the world. She's an award-winning marketing and communications expert with more than 15 years of experience. After growing one of her businesses to close to $1 million in sales in less than 4 years, she sold it with a single email. Now, Kathryn is the founder of Creatively Owned, a marketing communications firm that helps entrepreneurs use the power of words to create instant appeal for what they are selling. And little do you know, because it's not in this bio, but Kathryn is also an astrology guru. And it's like this hidden piece of the work that she does with her clients, which I love, that it's like she doesn't lead with the astrology thing, but that's actually like her secret sauce. And we are diving into astrology today and how astrology, and kind of putting it together with human design, but how it shows how you're here to express yourself and how you're here to show up. Kathryn is such a whiz at astrology, and I love this conversation because she uncovered so many things about my own astrology, which I know a little bit about astrology, but I am no expert by any means. And she helped reveal so many things that I had no idea were in my chart. So mind-blowing moments here. And she's going to give you the exact places to look in your own chart to uncover so many of these things that we talk about. This was such a fun conversation, so let's jump in. Y'all, I'm here with Kathryn, and I'm so excited for this, Kathryn. We were just like nerding out a little bit before I hit record, and I'm so excited to talk about this. So first of all, thanks for coming and hanging with us today. Yes, me too. So
Thanks for
Kathryn
having
is
me. I'm so
our
excited to
resident
dive in.
astrology expert right now. And so we are going to dive into some things. And of course, you know, we talk about human design on the podcast. We've talked about gene keys, and we've talked about astrology here and there. Oh, we talked about numerology one time, but I'm fascinated by astrology and I love it. I'm no expert by any means. And so I'm excited to bring Kathryn on to have her kind of dive into some really important aspects of our chart. And this is for the entrepreneur, the career-driven woman who has a message to share. Like that's kind of what and we'll dive into some other things too. But if you have a mission, a message here on this earth, then that's kind of what we're talking about today. And Kathryn is going to help us kind of clear out the baggage, if you will, that's around this. So first I want to ask you, because this is such a unique take, right? It's a unique thing to bring into your coaching and stuff. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about your journey and how like you brought in the astrology pieces and all these things that helped you get you where you are today.
Yeah, great question. So I've been studying like human design, gene keys, self-studying probably it's going on like 6 years now. And I brought it into my business because I was really seeking alignment in the work that I was doing. And I had kind of felt like my journey, I just felt like I was constantly in battle with myself and probably in battle with what was going on in the world, right? Like the way we market, the way we communicate. And I knew I wanted to truly show up in the most authentic way. And those systems have really, really helped me. And then I stumbled across astrology, and astrology was kind of like the bow that sort of tied everything together for me, and sort of made a lot of sense in terms of like how I communicate, how I show up, why I have this like internal battle. So I've always just sort of stumbled down these rabbit holes. I get interested in human design, gene keys, learning about myself, and then I just kind of go down and self-study. But I was
Love
recently
astrocartography.
certified in
Yes. Love
astrocartography,
it.
which is locational astrology. Yes. And so based on like location and where you are and environment, because that all plays a factor in how we feel, what happens, all those sorts of things. So I just kind of stumble into these worlds and then I get really nerdy about it. It's my Scorpio rising that wants to go deep and like nerd out on stuff. And that's really kind of what I do. And then I just learn from there and usually apply it to myself first. And then I start to sprinkle it into my coaching. I've never really like forwardly advertised it. I just kind of talk about
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
it's
It's like
just
the little
like
magic
this
sauce. Do you have a
sprinkle that
one
I
line in
do
human design?
within my business. Yeah.
4-6. Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense
I'm
then. The
a
6 line. That makes
4-6
sense. Okay.
actually.
That's very cool. Okay. No, I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's like the surprise secret sauce. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, this is how we're doing it. Like this is the methods we're using. Like I love that. That's so and I'm the same where it's like I find the thing, I don't have a one line either, but I have a 3 line or the 3 and the 6, I guess, kind of related. But I also like nerd out on all of it. And I'm like, okay, let me put this, let me implement this, and then let me bring it into my business. And then now I'm going to use it on my clients. And yeah, I love that. I love it. And I love astrocartography. I discovered that a couple years ago. A mentor of mine, she does more like human design stuff, but she started doing that. And I'm like so fascinated by the location stuff. It's so cool. Yes, it is. It is.
So
The
cool.
big thing I wanted to start with was, and I find, we were kind of talking about this before I record, I find that for me, this has been kind of a personal journey is the word that's coming up, I guess, journey with this, if you will. And I know for a lot of people that there's this constant internal battle, especially people who I know, like women listening to this show, they're very self-aware, they're very intuitively led, they're soul led, right? And there's this kind of internal battle of how you want to express yourself and how you feel like you, quote, should be expressing yourself. And like we talked about before when we were chatting before we started, it's like a lot of soul-led women kind of have this either like push-pull or love-hate relationship with the whole social media thing. And because it's like, well, I want to express myself, but I don't want to do it this way. So I would love for you to talk about and we're going to dive into my chart to give y'all some like tangible things to like connect it to. Where are we looking in the chart? Like, what are the areas we're looking at? If somebody's listening, they want to go look at their chart to see where are we finding how we're here to express ourselves, like how we're supposed to be showing up based on our design.
Yeah. So your rising sign is essentially who you are, right? So that's like who you are in this world. It also is connected to your physical body. So your first house is one of the places you want to look, and that's where your rising sign's gonna live. And the reason for that is because the rising sign, like I said, is who you are. It's how you will show up in the world. It's not necessarily how you will vocalize your message. That's going to be your Mercury. So where your Mercury lives, and everyone's Mercury is different. Mine's in the first house, yours is in the 8th house. And then the houses that they live in will also play a flavor. So it's going to be the sign that it lives in, but it's also going to be the house that it lives in. And so your rising sign is going to play a factor, and that Mercury, how you express, how you think, those sorts of things is also going to play a factor. And then the house in which it lives is going to play a factor and
there's
tell a
so much
story as
nuance
well.
there. And that's why I love this stuff.
The
That's why I love
flavoring
human
of
design
it.
and astrology and all these things, because there's so much nuance. And I know a lot of people just think it's like see it very surface level, especially astrology. There's this very surface level understanding of astrology. But like when you really get into the depths of it, there's so much nuance. And I just love how it just speaks to the uniqueness of each of us as human beings and what we're here to do and how we're here to be and, how we're here to live. I love all of that. So, okay. I want to, well, actually, let's look at my chart first. So Kathryn has my chart pulled up and we're going to look at it because I want to be able to illustrate kind of the internal conflict that can happen with like how this is designed to be versus what I feel like I should and all those things. So let me just have you pull apart all the things of mine.
Yeah. So you're a Leo rising, and Leos are very bold. They're creative. They want to be seen. They want to take center stage. They want to be bold in their creative expression. But your Mercury lives in Pisces in the 8th house. And Piscean energy can be very ethereal, poetic. It's a water sign. So you've got this water and you've got this fire, right? And so it's very, like I said, poetic and ethereal. Not that it doesn't want to take center stage, but the flavor of how you communicate is, like I said, kind of poetic, ethereal. There's going to be depth to it. And so sometimes that internal balance or battle that will happen is that fire is battling that water. It's like, how do I be both? How do I be fire? How do I be bold? How do I have that like drive? And then how do I marry that with this like ethereal, watery, fluid energy? And that's where I think a lot of women and then a lot of humans, we have that internal battle. Like, I have to be one or the other. I have to be bold and authority and all of that to be online. But then your Piscean's energy is like, but wait a minute. Yes, we want you to be bold and be seen, but we want you to be seen through this Piscean energy, this poetic, fluid, feminine way of communicating. There's a softness to it, right? So it's marrying that boldness with the softness. What makes your chart even more unique is it's conjunct your sun. And so the sun sign is how people perceive you, that it's how you're seen and the light that you shine in the world, which is through Pisces. Now, your sun and Mercury won't always live in the same house, right? So that's why, like you said, this work is so nuanced. It's not cookie cutter, which is why a lot of marketing and sales and how we're taught we need to show up in this world can't fit into that cookie cutter model because your chart looks so different to my chart. My internal battles are going to look very different than your internal battles. But I don't even want to call them battles because to me, it's just trying to marry them. It's trying to marry the Leo energy with the Piscean energy and actually not try to fight it, but try to integrate it, I think is the best way that you can do it. And so the other flavoring here is that it's in the 8th house. So it's in the 8th house of what we call the other. So it can be around inheritance, it can be around partnership, it can be around like depth psychology and transformation. And so the way in which you communicate your Mercury and Pisces then is flavored by that 8th house, which is often probably through partnership. So doing things like you're doing right now, having us have this conversation is very much how your Mercury wants to be expressed. It's going, I want to express in partnership. I want to leverage other people's community rather than I'm going to blast content on social media and push out this message that your Mercury's going, no, I want you to be in relationship with other people. I want you to be in transformation with other people. Because the other key thing here is that your 3rd house, which is all around social media, short form content, local community, is wide open. And so is mine. And so for years, I was like, I don't want to show up in social media all the time. I don't want to create content all the time. I can't sustain it.
You're not supposed to.
Well, my Mercury is in the 1st house going, we don't want you to.
That's so mind-blowing hearing you say that out loud because it's all the things that I've thought before and I felt for that reason. And it was even earlier this year. And I was telling this mentor of mine and this like spiritual entrepreneur group, and I was telling her, I'm like, man, I've had this like, and it's been for a while, but I think this year is like come to a head. I feel like there's so many things going on astrologically where it's like these things are coming to the surface where I'm like, I just don't like this. And that I told her, I'm like, I just want to do podcasts. Maybe I want to do Substack. Like, I cannot condense what I want to say into these little bite-sized pieces. I don't like the like you were saying before, like the 5 steps to blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't like doing any of that. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to shorten up what I want to say. I am like, when I get on podcasts, like I was recording this week, I'm doing a little series at the end of the year, a solo series. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get these in 30 minutes. No, I get to talk and I'm like, I got too much to say. Like, I'm just going with it. So like everything you're saying, my body is like, oh my gosh, like this is it. And I love what you said. I think something so important about what you said is not calling it an internal battle, but figuring out how to blend. I think you said blend the two together. So it's, like it's not one or the other, but it's like bringing those together. Like that is really potent.
Yeah, because that's the biggest struggle I see with the women that I work with is that, and even my own biggest struggle is like, how do I marry all of who I am, the analytical? I have stellium in Virgo. Virgo's very practical, analytical, but then I'm like this depth worker and I'm going, how do I marry all, and very intuitive, and how do I marry all of that? And I used to
Right.
fight it. I'm like, I have to be one or the other. People will only buy the practical and the analytical. And the reality of it is actually people saw the intuitive, the depth worker in me, that they're like, that's why I want to work with you. And it wasn't about the separation of it. It was bringing them together in what I offer. And the same is for all of the women I
Yeah,
work with,
that's
is when we
so.
marry
So,
those,
what are
that's
some
when the
other, if you
magic
have some other
happens.
examples, as I want the women listening to be able to kind of apply this. When we're talking about this, well, we're talking about not struggling, but for those who are experiencing the internal struggle that haven't been able to marry the things, what are some other like internal struggles you've seen with, well, I feel like I should do things this way, but my chart is saying this.
Yeah. So a big one that I see obviously is like that third house that's wide open, that people are trying to fit themselves into the short form content. We talked about that. The other big one that I see is the
Mm,
expression of compassion, vulnerability, emotion. I think a lot of women that I work with are very compassionate. They've got Cancerian energy, the Pisces energy, a lot of water sign. And they're here to express through that vulnerability, but they're being taught they need to be this authority. And so they're coming from this like guru place of, I know the answer. And they're going, anytime I try to do like, here are the 5 steps, here's the one way you're gonna da 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 da, here's the best way, here's the only way,
yeah.
all of those messages, they're like, those always flop. But the minute I tell a like messy, vulnerable story, it goes viral. And I'm like, and I look at their chart, I'm like, well, yeah, your Mercury's in Cancer. Like, you're quite literally meant to communicate that way. You are not meant to communicate through that, I don't want to say guru lens, because I think they're guru in their own right. It's just the expression and that flavor. So they're
Mm.
trying to be polished and perfected. And their brand and that Mercury is asking them to not be that. It's going, no, share the inner working, share the emotional vulnerability, share the struggle in it. You don't actually have to teach from the lessons learned. You can
Mm.
actually teach
Oh,
from
that's
being in the
good.
well of it. That's
That's
what your
good.
people want. So that being the biggest struggle I think a lot of people have had.
Do you ever see, or do you ever see the opposite of that, where people feel like they need to be like getting all into the feels and all to the emotions, but then actually they're supposed to be the like what you call like a guru energy kind of thing? Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire, and you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the Quantum Reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah. So that's very much me. Like I don't have any Cancerian energy in my chart at all. And for a long time, people kept saying, just be vulnerable, be vulnerable. I'm a 6 line in human design. So people look to me for that role model, that wisdom. my Mercury's in Scorpio in the first house. So I am here to go like deep and to share that wisdom from a place of wisdom, not from a place of like being in the thick of it, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have, or Pisces, I don't have Piscean energy. And Leo is my North Node in the 10th house of career. So like I am here to have that boldness, right? There's a lot of fire signs. There is water in my energy, but so I'm definitely here to speak from that role model place. I don't align with the like I'm a know-it-all guru. I align more with the like here's my wisdom, here's my insight, that
Mhm.
Scorpio energy. I'm gifting that to you. You can do what you wish with it. I'm not here to tell you what to do kind of thing. So
Yeah.
definitely that's my chart for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Again, the nuance of all of it is so
Yeah.
fascinating. So if we wanted to look, one of the big things that we talk about in different ways in the show, it's just living this like purposeful, authentic life, right? So if we wanted to look in our chart and really feel into, because we're talking about the message, right? But it's who, like maybe the role we're here to play for other people. And how that fits into like our business or career, whatever. What would we be looking at or looking for?
Yeah. So if you're trying to figure out kind of like what you're here to be of service to the
Mm-hmm.
world or
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
collective, you're
Yeah.
going to want to look at your 10th house of career. That really is the vocation. So yours is in Taurus and your midheaven's actually there as well, because you do want to look at your midheaven as well. So, but Taurus, the sign of Taurus is really around values, resources, groundedness, rootedness, worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes healing our own worthiness because we suffer with that lack of self-worth, but we're helping people do that, right? So that Taurus energy in your 10th house is really the flavor of what you're here to do from your vocation. You also have your North Node there, which is like the direction in which you're going. It's the dialing up of energy. South Node is like the dialing down, what we're moving away from. And so your North Node's there, you've got your midheaven there. So there is something around that worthiness piece, the resources, value, whatnot. But that's where you want to look, is going to be your 10th house of career, where your midheaven is placed, so your MC, and that can live in the 9th house, 10th house, or 11th house. So yours is in the 10th, mine's in the 11th.
Mm.
The midheaven is your hopes and dreams. It's also your friendship group and your social group, but it's really hopes and dreams. So, like, what do you want to create? What are the possibilities that you want to create in this world? What are your dreams? Because that's going to guide you in terms of what you're here to be of service to. And then how you're here to be of service will depend on your 7th house, your 8th house, right? Like, those are your partnerships, those are your relationships, and your 11th house typically. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense and makes so much sense what you said about mine because, and even the beginning of this year, I did a whole series on like worthiness and how we tie worthiness to our output. So like worthiness is something I talk about all the time. And I'm pretty sure I've even mentioned it a few times in this series I'm doing this month. So that's like, hello, like that one's right there in front of me. And I guess I should have asked this at the beginning. Where do you recommend women go look at their charts? Do you have a recommended site? Like it's easy to kind of see all these things we're talking about?
Yeah, so astroseek.com, you can just pull it up for free. I'm using the whole sign system. So some people will use Placidus. I have found whole sign to be the most accurate for me and my clients when I'm doing these types of things. So that's just one differentiator that you want to do. But astroseek.com is a free chart that they can look at
Perfect.
and they'll be able to see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I should have asked at the beginning. So when we're looking at these things, and I love all the things you talked about so far. It's like your hopes and dreams and, the role or your vocation and all that. What do you find is the biggest, well, I actually want to look at this two ways. What do you find are some of the biggest roadblocks from us getting, because there's a rewiring process that has to happen, right? For us to shift from how we think we should be doing things or should be showing up or what we should be doing with our purpose and all that to this. And just in your experience, and if you want to use your own personal experience or just how you help your clients, but how it sounds so easy in theory, like, oh, I'll just start doing things this way, but it's really not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think the biggest conditioning that happens to women in a lot of ways is like we do have that worth piece, right? We're trying to be validated. We're trying to prove ourselves. We have perfectionism. We want to get it right and perfect. We want to put our best foot forward. We're polished and poised and professional and all the things that we've been conditioned to do. And so but then we have this internal resistance. You're like, I'm kind of messy. I say stuff off the cuff. I don't really think before I speak. Like, there's a reason for it because it's usually written, I say, in your chart, but society has conformed us. And so for me, those things are probably the biggest things that get in people's way. Is perfectionism, is lack of word, like that not enoughness, those high achieving women that are striving for that perfection and then trying to be one or the other, feeling like they have to choose, like I have to be this or I have to be this. So for me, there's that analytical, that Virgo stellium. I'm very analytical, I'm very practical, but then there's this like deep well of intuitive magic that comes through me. And for the longest time, I was like, I don't know how they coexist. And if I'm being honest, it's why I do a lot of the human design astrology stuff behind the scenes, because I'm still trying to figure out, how do I marry it? How do I actually make the intuitive astrology stuff come first and the analytical, practical part of it be sort of a second? That's my own internal struggle. But another client of mine, for example, she had a stellium in the 5th house of creativity, but she was trained as a businesswoman. And so I kept saying, but then she would do all these creative art projects. She was sewing and like making her own clothes and cutting her own hair. And I'm like, most people can't do that. What? Really? I'm like, well, like nobody really can.
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
Yeah, no one's doing that. And then I looked at her chart and I'm like, you're here to, and she's very creative, but it was like the business training was telling her people want spreadsheets and they want analytics and they want metrics.
Yes.
And they do, yes, to some degree, but they want your creativity. That's probably what they see in you before you're seeing it in yourself. Yeah.
That's a good example. Yeah. And then if you're only looking at it that way, you're just completely stifling like the way that you're really here to show up. And that makes a huge difference in how you're showing up. Are there any other, well, let me ask you this, the second part of that. So do you have any strategies or methods strategies or methods are the words I think I want to use to help people kind of move past that, like to get to that, to like that, the example of your client, like, let's bring out this creative side. But yeah, so strategies to help us get there.
Yeah. So I mean, I think everybody's process is going to be unique of themselves, but I think the biggest thing that I encourage my clients to do is create the safety to actually bring that out into the world at whatever pace feels safe for them and their nervous system. So this particular client, I'm like, you don't have to go and change your entire business today. I think that's the other thing. It's like all or nothing. It's like, if I'm doing this, I got to do it now.
Yep.
And it's like, you can have the safety net of what you're doing. You can keep doing the business the way you're doing it and slowly integrate that in, similar to what I'm doing, right? Like, I haven't fully stepped into that Leo North node that's asking me to be seen for these gifts, but I'm a 6th line. So I'm coming off my roof at 50. So timing wise, I'm actually on track because I know that at 50, that's when I'm preparing for that. And so to me, it's like, figure out what's safe for you and your nervous system, and then slowly start to integrate that in to what you're doing. It doesn't all have to be at once. And I think that's the scary part, is like, oh man, I know this now. I got to change everything. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And we're all navigating this. Like, everyone I talk to is navigating this in their own way. And I think that's the other thing, is like, well, then I'm not authentic. And I'm like, well, no, you are authentic. There's just conditioning that's happened, and we're relearning, rewiring. And so for me, it's like, be gentle with yourself in it and take bite-sized steps is the best way I can say it, without really knowing who the person is that's listening to this, like individually. Like, everybody has their own threshold. Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, and I think if we're doing it that way in kind of these bite-sized pieces, I feel like it's each step we take kind of compounds. So it's like, it's easier and easier to implement, like a little bit more. And so the way I see it, it's not just like all these individual steps, but it's all these steps like compounding on top of each other. So it's like you're taking a little bit more and a little bit more each time. And it's, so I think I think that's great advice. I love that. Are there any other parts of our chart we haven't talked about that you find are really important in terms of like purpose, authenticity, message, like the message, mission we have, anything like that?
Yeah. So your moon sign and where that lives is really that the moon is like how you feel safe, like what you need for safety. So for example, my moon is in Aries in the 6th house. the sixth house is around daily work and service. So that's also going to play a factor in what you're here to do and how you're here to serve. But for me, I need routine, but I also need autonomy. Aries is very much about autonomy. And so being incorporated in a 9 to 5 where I don't have the autonomy was a big struggle for me. Duh. Why I went and did this, what I do. So you want to look at that moon sign. What do I need to feel safe? Yours is in the 12th house in Cancer. So there's going to be a lot of love. That's the mother energy, a lot of mothering of self. And the 12th house is very hidden behind the scenes. So it's things that are probably not as forward facing in public. It's like, what do I need to do in my own with spirituality, with myself, to take care of myself? That's going to be what you need. And that is going to help you express yourself. Because if you don't feel safe, you're not going to want to show up in the world and express yourself the way that you do. And then the sixth house is going to be how you are here to be of service to the world, your daily routine, your health, right? So you've got Capricorn in the sixth house. So Capricorn is very structured. So there'll be structure to your routine. There will be structure to your health habits. There will be structure to that daily service, which again, if you look at Capricorn, you look at Pisces, they're like polar opposites.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know if you felt like there can be that friction, right?
Yes.
Of
yes.
that sun of I'm Piscean energy flowy, but then
Yes.
it's like, but I don't want to say rigid, but I need some structure.
The structure.
in my
Yeah.
daily
No,
routine.
I feel that hard. Well, and I'm a Manny Gen, so I'm kind of like all over the place. And so, no, I definitely
much.
feel that because I like the structure, but I like flexibility within my structure. I like the ability
Yes.
to like for like workouts or food or whatever. Like I know what I like to eat and how I like to move, but it's like, well, let me try different things. Like I'm going to go work out at these times because that's how I like the structure, but I can change it up this way. Like, so it's, yeah. So I know I totally, that resonates like 1,000,000%. I feel that.
Yeah. And then your Mars sign is how you take action. So Mars within your chart. So your Mars is in Sagittarius in the fifth house. So fifth house is around creative expression, like it's around pleasure, fun, play. So you likely will take action. Sagittarius is also mutable fire. It's like wildfire. So there's probably like this surge of action taking energy, like out of control almost.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But there also is this, like, it's got to be done in a playful, adventurous way. It can't be forced, I guess is the best way. It's almost like we can't contain it, but it has to be done in Sagittarius is very adventurous. It's very, So that's how you take action, is through your Mars energy. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense too, because, and that has come up so many times this year in 2025. Is like I had a session with this like intuitive like business psychic or whatever, and this whole like inner child play thing kept coming out, and basically it was like asking like, you need to bring more play into your business. And then I had this like really intense breathwork session in this group that I'm in, and same thing came out. It's like, it's play. So that has come up so many times, and I find that's like that polar thing you're talking about, where it's like, okay, we want to get things done, but doing it in a way that's too like
mundane, methodical.
Yes, robotic. Yeah, like it's how to bring the play, and that has been, and I'm bringing that into 2026 because I've like that's something I'm still really trying to figure out within myself, and I can feel when I get into the slump where I'm like, this feels like I've lost the fun, like it is gone.
Yeah, and that. It's interesting because as a Manny Gen, right, we're here to respond to like what lights us up. Are you sacral or emotional?
Sacral.
Yeah. So like it's kind of like our sacral's like,
Yep.
Where that you get that body buzz, but like, and that's the storyline that's being told also in your astrology with that Mars in the fifth house of Sagittarius, is like, I want this to be fun and playful, and I can't, if my body's not on board and I'm not on board and it's not fun for me, it's a no-go. And that is a really hard thing to navigate in business. And I think we're all navigating it, because it's like, business isn't meant to be fun. It's work. It's it's all that conditioning. And it's like, no, we can integrate the fun and the play and the pleasure. We can enjoy it.
Yes.
We're here to enjoy it. And I think for you, particularly in your chart, you're here to show us that we can through your own action. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm taking that with me too. I love that. This is so good. Yeah. Kathryn, I Love all of this. I could keep nerding out on this all day. And I love just how you're tying this all together, but then also kind of like secretly tying it in. So I think that's even more fun. So I love that. I have one more question I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody as we wrap up. But before I ask you that, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about you if somebody wants to work with you, if they want more insight into all the things we've been talking about?
Yeah. So you can find me at creativelyowned.com is my website, and or creatively owned on Instagram is where I hang out the most. Come chat with me, DM me. Yeah, I love nerding out about all of this stuff.
Yeah, so good. Okay, of course, all that will be in the show notes. So you'll go check it out. The last question I want to ask you, Kathryn, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the most important thing is there's going to be to me, like trust feels like a big theme right now for me in my life is like this deep, deep, deep self-trust. I actually just wrote an email about it the other day, was like, there's an instinct within you that knows these things. And if we don't trust that, we'll continue to perpetuate the same patterns. And so for me, to live in purpose is to cultivate that inner trust and inner knowing within yourself. Because once you are so rock solid on that, nothing in the outside world, hopefully, can rock that trust, right? Now, we're human and there will be times where we doubt ourselves. But to me, it's the inner trust.
I love that. I agree with that so much. That's the only thing we have. Like that's the guidepost. That's the compass. Like that's the only thing we have guiding. Like I love that. 100% agree. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom and diving into my chart, nerding out with this. And I know you've given the ladies listening a lot to work with and a lot to think about and contemplate and go research. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.